I'm going to be talking about the development of immigration and borders and the human rights internationally and what the specific impacts are on that. I've been assigned 4 questions for my assignment, and I'll read out the first two, but the last two are already expanding on what I'm already going to read out to you. So the first one is, I'm just reading off the screen. Describe with examples the impact of government policies on different public services in relation to the policies that you're assigned, which I've already read out. So the answer to that is there are a few certain government policies on different public services relating to immigration and borders and human rights internationally. So, for example, government can create policies that affect all the public services, or it can be a more particular group. It just depends what it is. They can sort of, well, depending on what they establish, it can have different effects on a particular group. So, for immigration and borders and human rights internationally, you could probably talk about the NHS for our country. If someone is not a citizen but they are entitled within our country to free healthcare covered by the NHS, if we were to deny that, it would be in theory a breach of their basic human rights. If a policy does not apply for, say, for example, the USA, I know they have Obamacare in now, but it's still difficult to get free healthcare. This effect would ultimately have an effect on the whole public services, even though it seems that it would only have an effect on one. So, if there is a high population of people coming over and using that specific facility, it would just cost the government a lot of money. So, if there is a high level of the budget going into the NHS, the government only has so much money that they would have to make budget cuts and withdraw some of the budgets from different public services. So, I don't know, you could, I suppose you could say it has a knock-on effect to, I don't know, the fire service, the police service. There's loads of different ways it can affect them. So they would probably have lower pensions, perhaps lower wages. They would maybe even have to start cutting down on their numbers. It's just stuff like that that can actually have a really large effect on different public services. I suppose another point you can make is that the public services have quite a lot of power, and this is more aimed at the police service, really. They have quite a lot of power over our lives, and they can pretty much, in some respects, they can breach our personal human rights and interfere with our private lives. So they can search your house if they have a suspicion that you might be carrying something illegal in that specific country. They can actually keep tabs on you if they think you're up to some sort of high organised criminal behaviour. I mean, there's loads of different ways that they can interfere in your life and actually have quite a lot of power over you, if that makes any sense. So maybe one of the policies, which is the main one, which you probably already heard, is that the government have made the Human Rights Act of 1998. This could affect human rights internationally because if they were in this country, it would I suppose it would give them more privacy and more freedom than say they were in a different country where different rules apply. So I suppose in some respects it would be seen unethical if the police were to have more authority over you if that certain policy would was applied to them. So for for the Human Rights Act of 1998, the crime rate would drop dramatically if that wasn't there because the police have so much power over you, but it's just highly unethical that they would because instead of actually feeling safe by them, you would end up you just end up not respecting them. And but if it wasn't there, crime rate would drop, but still, it does have an effect on how the police can carry out their jobs. So more people can, in a sense, I'm not saying everyone, but more people could get away with crime because the police aren't really allowed to interfere in some circumstances, interfere with their personal lives. Yeah, so human rights internationally affects the police the most with the Human Rights Act. Alright, so that's the first question done, with the exception of question 3. So the second question is demonstrate how government policies are developed and what process is used to develop any policy. Alright, so in the UK there is one main way, well, it's the only way. The only way to actually make a policy is through quite a lot of stages, to be honest, because they have to make sure that it suits everyone. So there are 7 stages to what a bill is, so policy, but it is known as a bill when it is being made rather than policy, which is the finished product. So there are 7 stages for a bill before it actually becomes a policy or a law. There is the first reading, then there is the second reading, and there is the committee stage. So this would all take place within the House of Commons, the House of Lords. So they would generally talk about a specific bill, and it doesn't all work out. A lot of them do end up getting scrapped, but so the House of Commons may have a different view to the House of Lords, and it works vice versa. So policy you could use is the Antisocial Behaviour Act, and this allows police to issue ASBOs upon people, which are antisocial behaviour orders, which I won't get into too much detail, but they issue curfew, etc., etc. So really restraining what you do if you are convicted of a crime. The Standing Committee is also involved, Select Committee, Committee of the whole House, and the Judicial Committee also are involved. So they sort of make sure that this bill is completely ethical and fair to everyone. So this isn't just the whole power isn't sort of fixed to a specific group of people. There is also the reporting stage, which they sort of read over every little specific bit of what it actually is. So they make sure that there are no sort of small prints which sort of sneak through and ultimately have power over the country. Then there is the third reading, which is just pretty much confirming what they say. And second from last is the House of Lords, which I've already mentioned, but they come a lot later than the House of Commons would. And finally, there is the Royal Ascension. So this is where the Queen will she signs specific bills. So the Antisocial Behaviour Act. So she sees it. She thinks this is completely fair, and it's fair to the whole country in a sense. And she will sign she will sign the bill, and it will allow it to become policy. So in the end, that's pretty much all it is to it, to make a policy. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you later.